Hello and welcome to Todd and Mike's amazing value journey, where our aim is to give you the edge when it comes to understanding, creating and communicating great customer value and getting paid for it. From here in Perth, Scotland, I'm Mike Wilkinson.
And from a Canadian living in America, I'm Todd Snellgrove.
Hi Todd, and together we will be your guides on your value journey. Welcome to this opening session, and what I want to do today is just give a brief outline of what we're going to cover and then ultimately leave you with a route map for our value journey. But I'm guessing you probably have one or two questions that you'd like answered, like who are we and why should you care about value and going on the value journey with us? What's the route we're going to take and where are we going to start? So straight off, let's start by introducing ourselves. I'm Mike Wilkinson. I have spent more than 30 years in sales training and consultancy, focusing predominantly in the area of value. My clients are based all over the world, and I speak at conferences and deliver training, well, virtually everywhere. I have 3 books, which you can see there. The value-based pricing one is very much a textbook on value pricing, whilst the 7 challenges of value and the challenge of value are very much value primers, if you like. I also have an online package called the Value Challenge System, which will take you, should you wish to go that route, from understanding value at the beginning all the way through to delivering value at the end. Todd, over to you.
Thanks, Mike. I've got 20 plus years of business-to-business sales, marketing, pricing background, focusing on value differentiation, and how to get paid for value. So business to business, but lots of industries, there's a lot of similarities within them of how we engage the buyer. I spend a lot of time at different conferences doing keynotes and the like, but it also gives me a chance to learn best practices from other industries. Numerous books and chapters. I've done some work with Mike over the years. The one that I've most recently published is Value First, Then Price. And what I like about it is not only does it talk about how we should sell, communicate, and price for value, but believe it or not, procurement wants to buy value, and they talk about how they want value presented to them so that they're able and willing to pay for it. So you'll hear a lot over the next sessions on the technical buyer, the person that's going to use your product or service, but also this procurement person, and how should we engage them, when should we engage them, so that they can be willing to pay us for the value we create.
Loved and revered by most salespeople, I think, Todd, it's fair to say.
Funny enough, they actually can be your ally.
I completely agree.
And you know, in my early days, we were told, hide from them. Nothing good can come from procurement, but some good key learnings over the time of how to engage them properly. So from a business perspective, why should we care? These are statistics from numerous sources. A lot of them come from a book called Value Merchants. You see the cover on the screen there. I think the most important one is, this was done by a group called Monitor, which is now part of Deloitte in 2012. But they took every industry and they took all the competitors and said, do you take a value approach or a volume price-based approach? And companies that took the value approach and were good at it were 24% more profitable than their peers, than their direct competitors. People that took the value approach and weren't great at it, but at least took that strategy, were 6% more profitable. And the ones that took the volume and price and good enough strategy were much less profitable, somewhat counterintuitive. Closing rates. You know, you spend all that time meeting your customers, going through all the work, but if you deliver a customized business case that says, by buying this, we think this is your return, we've seen closing rates increase by 25%, which is huge. Imagine that impact. A lot of companies have programs and processes to discount. Maybe we should stop discounting and use that money to fund the training, the tools, the techniques to be able to communicate our value better, because companies that do this reduce their discounting between 15 and 20%. That's a huge number. Speed up the sales cycle. I mean, again, you're putting your prospects and your opportunities through a CRM system, but some companies have seen upwards of a 33% speed up of that cycle. And finally, less customer churn. If you not only can demonstrate your value, build the business case they buy the value, then deliver that value, the relationships with customers seem to be on a much better footing so that every time the contract comes up for renewal, they're not rebidding it out. In my
Absolutely.
experience, I had over 200 global agreements. And don't get me wrong, every few years there would be a discussion, but when you had that relationship, you had that projects, and you would deliver on the value you had promised, you had a different relationship with your customer than the competitors did.
I've got to tell you, Todd, looking at that, if we could only help everyone deliver 50% of those benefits, it would be well worth their while sticking with us over the course of the next few weeks.
Well, reduce discounting by 18%. That's, to some companies, that comes right off the bottom line.
Absolutely.
So, as you said, even if half that, that's more than the average profit of publicly traded companies around the world at 10% net profit.
Guys, stick with us.
But I always hear from people, does procurement really care? We'll do sessions throughout the whole journey on procurement and the like, but I think there's two great quotes. I won't go through them, but they're from the book. The first one is from a professor from the Center for Advanced Procurement Studies. You're going to hear a concept of the evolution of total cost of ownership, a way to measure value. And he's like, it's time for us to start thinking differently and really engaging our suppliers to get it. And then Tim Cummings, who runs a global association called Center for the International Association of Commercial and Contract Management, says, from the buy side and the sell side, value must be the first priority for both sides if both sides are going to take more value out of the relationship, not at the expense of the other party.
Absolutely.
So there's value for the seller and the buyer.
It's about sharing the value that we can generate, not capturing it, but sharing it.
It's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed. So you may well be asking yourselves, despite all of those quotes from Todd, why you should join us on your value journey. And I think there are some great reasons right now. And the number one is that we do have to do something right now. There is unquestionably going to be significant downward pressure on prices if you are not feeling them already. And certainly talking to a lot of my clients, they are most definitely feeling them already. And procurement and supply chain will have a lot more power and will be looking to leverage that power. So if we don't understand value and the value that we can deliver, that's going to be very difficult to deal with. Again, I don't know whether you've noticed, but a lot of businesses are becoming increasingly risk averse. They don't want to change at a time where they see that as a high perceived risk. So risk averse is really an issue. And I think customers' expectations of our abilities as sellers is on the rise at a time when the number of salespeople, sadly, seem potentially to be on the decline as many businesses look to rationalize their sales functions and the way they go to market. That means that sales forces will be smaller, but it will also mean that those small sales forces will have to be highly skilled and highly competent. And pipeline quality is going to be key. This for me is really important. There is a massive temptation at the moment to pursue absolutely any opportunity, but that's just not the best way to go about it. Not every opportunity is a good one, and you could end up investing a lot of time, money, and effort into opportunities that really in the long term are not going to help your business at all. We are going to take you on a fantastic value journey over the course of the next few weeks. You will learn lots of real world best practice, which you will be able to put into practice straight away. And one of the things Todd and I'd love you to be is to become the value superhero in your business. And one thing is for sure, if you are going to fight against the dreaded discount default, shorten your sales cycle times and all the other benefits that Todd was outlining earlier on, you will need to coalesce around value as a business. So not just the sales team, but the business will need to focus on delivering value. So, Todd, with all that in mind, where are we going to start? Well, The way the whole thing is going to work is that each session will be between 5 and 15 minutes. Clearly, when you see what we're going to cover, some of them, if we make them too short, they won't have any value. So there will be some of around 15 minutes. We will be looking at a key value factor in every session that we do. So there'll be at least one really key thing that we'll be looking at. But if there is anything specifically that you would like us to look at, then please let us know, and we'll make sure that we do our best to incorporate them in any of the activities that we get involved with. Look out for an email advising when the next session is online. I think our intention is probably to publish one session every week, but just keep your eyes open for that. And you'll see that we will look at each of the subject areas in sort of groups, in separate groups. And our plan is to have a seminar at the end of each of the groups of sessions that we're running. So an interactive opportunity for you to talk to Todd and I and to raise any issues that you may have. So a very quick look at the route map and where we're going to go. You could kind of say that today has been our starting point. The next batch of activities that we're going to do will be all around understanding the commercials. All of the three-letter acronyms that are everywhere in business. So TCO, TPA, EVE, all of those, that sort of stuff, and any others you might be able to think of, we'll look to explaining, because we really do think it's important that if we're going to sell and communicate value, we need to understand those things. We'll then look at the value sales process and how to go through that. We'll particularly focus on communicating your value. Then we'll look at pricing. How are you going to charge and what are you going to charge for? A really, really important series of sessions there before looking at how to build the business case, and then finally arriving at our destination. And Todd and I were talking about this earlier on. Our destination is for you to feel confident, comfortable, credible, communicating your value effectively to your customers. So in the meantime, if you want to contact us, Todd, where should they go for you?
Email's probably the best. My phone number is listed there. And if follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn, and look forward to a great journey, Mike.
Absolutely. And similarly with me, if you want to get in touch, mw@axiavalue.com is probably the best place to do it. So look out for that first email, which will be coming very, very quickly for session number 1. And we look forward to you joining us on the value journey. Just a quick message, if you haven't already registered for Todd and Mike's amazing value journey, click on the link below and we look forward to seeing you very soon.